How's the business execution going down at your organisation? Hi, my name is Greg Story. I'm the president of Carnegie Training here in Japan. Well, knowing there are many things we could do, having lots of great ideas, fantastic. But actually turning all those great ideas and getting the team organised and getting an output, making it happen, executing on the idea, a little bit of a different question. So how's it going? We've learned some key things about execution in business. One is we need to be very clear. What is the vision for this business? What is the why that we're doing all this? Where are we going with this? What's our mission? What are the things we're not going to do? What are the things we are going to concentrate on? Because there are many, many things we could do. Can't do them all. We need to narrow it down and really be very clear about where our strengths are, align those, and concentrate purely on those things and make sure we're making the best effort there. So this is very, very important. So clarity of where we're going, and then again, clarity of what we're going to do as opposed to the many things we could do. Then what about the Pareto principle? We know that 20% of our activities, our actions, comes to represent 80% of the results. That's very, very interesting dynamic. 20% of the things we concentrate on, 20% turns into 80% of the output. So that 20% that we're going to choose to concentrate on is absolutely critical that we're clear about what that 20% should be. Because there are many, many things we could do. But which ones? Which ones are going to have the maximum output, that 80% output from that 20%? Let's zero in on those. So we need some clarity again around where we need to put our time, money and effort. Now, we've got some ideas on where we've got to go. We know what we're going to do. We know where to concentrate. All fantastic. But the plan. Now, amazingly, in many organisations, it's, okay, idea, good, let's go. And the let's go part translates straight into the detail of the actual execution with no planning at all. Well, is that the best idea? I think planning is probably a better idea here, because then you actually know if this is going to work, you've thought through the stages, you've got it all organised, you can get things into sequence, you can make sure that things are integrated. There's a lot of things have to work. It's like those many little cogs moving around intersecting. We've got to get them all lined up for an output. So rather than just jumping in for the detail, minute detail of the actual execution piece, why don't we think through the planning part before we get going? Planning isn't that difficult. Well, where are we now? What's the as is? What's the should be? Where do we want to go with this? What's the end objective? How do we know if we've succeeded? What are some goals? What are some goals we're going to set? And what are some action steps from those goals? Okay, there's the goal. Then what's the action step? And what's the timeline? What's the timeline for that goal? And then what's the quality we need to be executing at? And who's responsible? Who's responsible for that? And then how do we know if we succeeded? What's the sort of end point, milestone? How do we measure that? What's the follow-up at the end? That's a process. So if we've got a good planning process, a great idea can be translated into a great outcome if we know what we're doing. So one of the problems, though, is we're very busy, extremely busy, and yet we want to do these extra things, but we can't do them all ourselves. So we need to find the best fit. Who is the best fit for these particular tasks? And as the leaders, we should be only doing the things that really we do best. The things that actually only we can do. Everything else, where possible, we should be delegating that. Now the problem is most people don't like doing delegation because it doesn't work. Well, it doesn't work if you do it in a very inefficient, ineffective way. If you know what you're doing with delegation, then it will work. But there's a process to that. There's a process of who should we choose? What's the right fit for this particular task? How do we communicate the why of this task to them so they understand this is not the boss dumping a whole bunch of their work on somebody else who's already busy. This is helping them to develop their career by getting them exposure to the boss's level of work. And the boss is then time freed up to concentrate on what only they are going to be really required to concentrate on, which is the things only they can do. So we know what they've got to do. We need to communicate that piece. Then we have to get them to set the timetable of how that would work, because then they take ownership. Then we don't micromanage, but we observe just to make sure we think it's tracking this way. We don't want to find out at the end it was actually tracking that way and we've got a big gap and we know time to fix it. We've got to make sure we're actually tracking in the right direction, so we're following that without taking it back, without taking over, and then we'll get to where we want to go. But this is what often happens. We don't hold people accountable. We delegate and then we forget because we're busy. We're doing all these other things we need to do that only we can do. We're busy on that and hundreds of emails and lots and lots of meetings and lots of other projects, and then we find out that we've actually let go of the project completely. We've not kept in touch with it, and it's actually not being done on time, not being done to the right quality, because there's no accountability. We didn't hold the people accountable that we gave the project to. So as the leader, we've got to make sure that accountability is in place there, that it gets done on time, at budget, right quality, in the way we expect it to go. So we've got to keep an eye on that. And if there's underperformance, well, what do we do about that? How do we deal with the performance evaluation? What do we do about underperformance or even non-performance? How do we deal with that? Because this is business execution. We can't have non-execution of vital pieces of the project. They have to be done. What do we do about that? And then people aren't perfect. They've got to be helped. No one knows how to do everything when it's new. No one's perfect at something when it's the first time. Coaching. Now, if you're delegating and you've freed up time, that will give you an opportunity to actually coach people to help them become better, because you're trying to promote their career here by delegating to them. You've got to back it up with some coaching so they feel, okay, I'm being helped here, my career's on the way, there's something in this for me, I'll commit the time and the effort to do this. So the coaching process. But how do we coach? What are the steps in a coaching process? Do we know how to coach people? We may say, yeah, I coach people. Well, really? Let's just step back and have a good look at your coaching. Is your coaching actually giving orders? Do this, do that? Is that coaching? No, it's not coaching. It's not developing people. It's just giving orders. Why do you do it like that? You're so busy, time poor, have to be very brief, have to be to the point. I want you to do this and do this and do this. That's not coaching. Coaching is a conversation, is communication, is developing people. You're not coaching? Well, then very hard for you to step out of that role and move up, because there's no successor. And if there's no successor, guess what? The organisation is not going to replace you with somebody else. They're going to keep you right where you are because you're too valuable, because there's no one who can do what you can do. If you want to step up, you've got to find someone who can take over so you can go to the next level. Now, all of these things, planning, coaching, handling, non-performance, delegation, all of these things, that often requires behaviour change on your part and also on the part of others. How good are you in getting behaviour change in yourself and also in others? What are your human relations skills like? What are your communication skills like? All of these things are totally interlocked and interrelated. It's like you touch one part, you touch the whole thing. You've got to get the whole thing going as an ecosystem. Does this sound complicated? Does this sound hard? Yes, it is. That's why there's such poor execution in organisations for new directions and new ideas and new strategies. It doesn't seem to work very well. It doesn't flow very well because it is complicated. Wouldn't it be excellent if there was some way you could learn how to do all this to make sure that it gets off to the right start and it works very well? Well, fortunately there is, and we have an exact course on this. How to get business execution, to involve all the people and the resources, everything we need to get them fully integrated, fully aligned, and working together to get a great success. So it's a one-day program. Come along and do this one-day program and learn how to execute ideas you have in the business, strategies you have in the business, to make sure you get the proper outcomes that you want in the most efficient, time-effective way that has everybody fully involved, fully integrated, and we actually see the business succeeding, and we go all the way up, which is where we have to go.